night delivery in a way shows how disabled people are viewed in some parts of the world, or by some people. The story of the game is depicted in a puzzling yet tense manner, where a delivery man experiences the unforgiving world in the perspective of a mentally disabled man called Kohei Shiota for only one night. Hi folks, I'm R, your narrator. There will be spoilers ahead. With that said, let's begin. I will quickly recap the story and mention critical points leading to the end, as I've already made a video explaining the story which you can watch by hitting the card above. If you have already watched it, you can skip ahead to the time indicated for the endings, or you can still hang around for a quick mind refresher. The story begins with a delivery man having 5 final packages to deliver to the residents of Nakayoshi apartment complex. The delivery man encounters rude and flawed characters who right off the bat come across as problematic and unpleasant. An alcoholic Mr. Takio, who is aggressive and uptight. A cat lady called Erika, whom despite having a cat, doesn't seem to care much about her fellow animal lovers. An antisocial delusional Michiru-san, a greedy priest who only cares about money, a demanding and selfish student and part-time worker called Arisa, and a rude, seemingly neglecting mother called Mariko. Meanwhile, the delivery man can learn about another unseen resident called Kohei, whom through 3 letters from his mother, we learn to have been the subject of verbal and mental harassment throughout his life due to his mental disability. People seem to be very unforgiving towards him, viewing him as a burden and a leech on economy. Someone who shouldn't be alive, even though he was trying very hard to find a job. The residents of the building show their disapproval very verbally and without much filter. They called Kohei disgusting, a burden, a useless person without money, and an ugly stalker. To make matters even worse, he gets called an antisocial, ironically from Michiru-san, a delusional antisocial. We also learn about a stray dog called Aikichi, whom used to belong to Kohei. These experiences, despite seeming normal, turn out to be anything but. A pool of blood can be witnessed in Arisa's room, and in room 403, multiple images of a specific fridge are hung on the walls, with a blood stain echoing a sinister sound. In room 403, the delivery man finds the runaway toddler of Mariko. When he tries to return him, the lights turn off, and when they turn back on, the building entirely changes, with ladders hanging on the balconies, creating a maze, which might be a metaphor of how the people are seen through the perspective of Kohei, puzzling and confusing. After delivering some more packages, we learn how these residents treated Kohei through some of his diaries. Kohei was a very kind man who always tried to be friendly and approachable. Regardless, people were disgusted by him and treated him very poorly. They distanced themselves from him and verbally and mentally abused him. After Kohei's soul presumably showing this creepy, depressing and puzzling world to the delivery man, how he presumably perceived the world and experienced it, he attacks the delivery man, which takes him back to the normal world, presumably. The delivery man finds himself back in the elevator holding the toddler when the lights turned off and the world changed. This time, the baby is pale white and looks as if it's dead. This might suggest that Mariko's child presumably died due to neglect, as seen how he runs away and ends up in room 403. Maybe a metaphor that the toddler got lost and Mariko couldn't find him. Or it might be an insinuation that the toddler died after Mariko was killed by Kohei's soul. But we'll get back to that later. After delivering the toddler, a new mysterious package appears in the delivery man's truck, which is needed to be delivered to room 404, presumably the room Kohei lived in, which takes us to the endings. There are two endings in the game. Let's start with the first ending. When the delivery man delivers the package to room 404, the door opens on its own and invites the delivery man in. When the delivery man goes in, he finds the actual fridge depicted in the images in room 403 in the middle of the living room. The door of the fridge slowly opens, showing remains of a corpse cut into pieces. The delivery man then quickly leaves the building and calls the police. The police investigates and finds Kohei's body straight away. They take the landlord in for questioning and presumably convict him of murder, which is left to be ambiguous at the end. The residents in the building are presumably gone as well. Not clear if dead or simply moved out. Due to the tragedy and the landlord not present anymore, the building changes its appearance and name to get more residents, by a new owner presumably, which actually doesn't get any more people coming in. The ending is very ambiguous and just leaves telltale signs of what might have happened after, so it leaves it up for theories and different interpretations. The first theory is that Kohei ended his own life and his soul showed his experiences to the delivery man, taking the landlord as accountable for Kohei's death. This theory is suggestive due to a letter by Kohei's mother saying that Kohei's depression can build up and explode over time, insinuating that he could kill himself. It still leaves the question to how he would fit himself in the fridge. The second interpretation is that Kohei was murdered by the landlord and stuffed inside a fridge to preserve his body, so it wouldn't deteriorate. The motivation behind his murder could be due to two reasons. First, Kohei was disabled and the people in the building showed disapproval towards him. Therefore, the landlord could have killed Kohei due to not liking him. And second, the landlord could take Kohei's welfare allowance as seen in the passbook. It appears that the landlord was charging him a lot more than the rest of the residents. The second ending starts when the delivery man goes to Kohei's room. In there, he finds the fridge and then dead bodies of the residents start to appear. The screen then becomes static and we switch to the landlord's perspective, who has been watching videotapes on his TV. This suggests that the landlord was observing Kohei. Maybe after his death, he was making sure nobody goes to his room to find his body in the fridge. That is why room 403 had the key of room 404 locker. Presumably the landlord was also snooping through Kohei's letters to make sure no one is looking for him after his death. The landlord then goes to room 404 where he gets demobilized and falls to the ground. In there, he sees the legs of a man approaching him, with the fridge's smoke coming from his back, indicating that this man is Kohei's vengeful spirit coming from the inside of the fridge. The screen then cuts to black, suggesting that Kohei kills the landlord. This ending suggests that Kohei becomes a vengeful spirit after being murdered. He kills the residents and the landlord, which might also explain why the toddler looks pale white. Maybe because he dies due to hunger and being locked in room 403 after Mariko was murdered by Kohei's soul. The first interpretation is that Kohei was murdered by all the residents of the building, as the delivery man experiences the events in a surreal manner, presumably in Kohei's perspective. He sees a blood pool in Arisa's room, a blood stain in room 403 including images of the fridge, his stuff then, and a cryptic dialogue from Michiru-san saying that he hasn't left home for a while and he's afraid of becoming like the residents of the building. He seems to be hiding something and paranoid as well, presumably a sign of him having had a hand in Kohei's murder and consumed by guilt and fear now. The diaries we find also suggest how spiteful the residents were against Kohei. This could suggest all the residents of the building, alongside the landlord, killed Kohei and stuffed them inside the fridge. while the landlord continuously got Kohei's welfare money. That is why the delivery man has this surreal experience. He's shown a surreal world by Kohei's spirit, how puzzling the building becomes due to Kohei's mental disability and his challenge deciphering people's behavior. Also how rude and mean people were to him, and finally, where they killed and stuffed them. Kohei, although reincarnated as a vengeful spirit, leaves the delivery man be, so he can report the landlord, and also he saw that the delivery man is kind due to feeding the cat and giving water to Aikichi, his dog. The story of the game has similarities to an actual tragedy that happened in Japan in 2016, known as the Sagamihara Massacre. A care worker in a care home kills 19 disabled and injures 26. In a manifesto, he explicitly expresses that disabled people are better left for dead and should be euthanized as they can't take care of themselves and engage in social activities, and also that they are a burden on the economy and it would be better for the country without them. This shows how some people unfortunately view the disabled as useless leeches without any conscience, personality, or emotion. Therefore, the characters in Night Delivery all hated Kohei due to his disability and wanted him dead by not treating him as a live conscious being. That's why Kohei becomes confused when Erika treats him bad, an animal lover. Surely animal lovers would sympathize with disabled people as they are more vulnerable but still have conscience and can feel pain. But eventually, a vengeful soul of a murdered Kohei comes back and delivers a swift justice for his murder. Night Delivery was yet another Chillazart game, which was very interesting to say the least. I might make more videos about Chillazart and puppet combo games, as they have a very distinctive way of storytelling in horror games. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, make sure to stay tuned by hitting the subscribe button and the notification bell. It's been your host R. Till the next video, have a fantastic day.